I now recognize Mr. Lieu for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairwoman Manning, and thank you, Special Envoy Leonard King, for your distinguished public service and for the service you're performing now. Your presentation earlier stated that the United States would like to have the blockade lifted. So when did you communicate to Saudi Arabia that the U.S. would like to have the blockade lifted?
Well, that's been a constant point of communication that I have had, and again, the Secretary is engaged on this issue as well. I speak to the Saudis on a daily basis, and this is an integral part of that conversation.
Let me ask this another way: for approximately how long has the U.S. been trying to tell the Saudis to lift the blockade?
Well, we've really seen the greatest amount of impediment and restriction since May of 2020. So over the course of almost a year, but I would say that since this administration came in and took, really shown a spotlight on the humanitarian situation, which is the main concern here, those engagements have really stepped up in the last couple of months.
Thank you for that. And what is the response from Saudi Arabia?
The response of Saudi Arabia has been somewhat positive. As I say, we have been able to, I believe, through our engagement, to move several ships. But as I've made clear, more is needed, and that is a central point that I and others make to the Saudis. That the essential lifelines must be open and cannot be held hostage to other elements of a peace deal.
And what have been the consequences if they don't lift the blockade? Or what are the consequences?
I think that would be extremely disturbing, and I'm very aggressively militating against that prospect. I think the more engagement that we have and the more support we have from the international community, the less we will see these impediments as obstructions to the humanitarian arteries.
So let me ask it another way. If the U.S. has been trying to get the Saudis to lift the blockade since May of last year, and they still haven't done so, what makes you think they are going to do so, and why do they feel any consequences? Or have we conveyed that they're going to get any consequences if they continue to just not lift the blockade?
Oh, I cannot articulate what those consequences would be at this particular juncture, but I know that this administration has charged me and will take this responsibility seriously. I would also just point out that food has continued to move through Hodeidah port, so there hasn't been a blockade on food and other essential commodities. It's the fuel imports that have really been problematic, and that is more of a recent development.
As you know, the Biden administration is looking at going back into the Iran deal. As you also know, there may very well be negotiations to extend the sunsets. For example, if nothing happens, then in 2023, the ban on ballistic missile technology gets lifted by the JCPOA with regards to Iran. To extent there's going to be negotiations, do you think there should be negotiations on Yemen and telling Iran they can't fund the Houthis anymore?
I will leave, real analysis of the Iran track to my colleague Rob Malley, with whom I keep in close touch, but he's the one leading that effort. I would say that, again, to restate that thus far I haven't seen any evidence that Iran wants to play a positive role in Yemen. I do hope, as the special envoy for Yemen, that Rob Malley is successful in his efforts, and that as his efforts bear fruit, that we will see, as part of that, a better approach from Iran toward Yemen.
All right. The Biden administration has said that the U.S. is no longer going to support offensive Saudi-led military operations. Has that in fact occurred?
Well, I can't speak to that point specifically. I know that the president has made his position very clear, and I believe that there are discussions underway on that. What I'm really concerned about is to ensure that the Yemen conflict is not subjugated to any other additional factors, and that we're able to drive towards ceasefire.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me just ask this question again. Is the U.S. currently supporting any military operations of the Saudi-led coalition in Yemen?
I'm not totally in that information loop, Congressman, so I can't really speak to that. I do think that we need to make sure that Saudi Arabia is able to defend itself against the attacks that we've talked about. But my focus is driving toward that ceasefire so we can get out of this whole question of offensive and defensive weapons and remove one threat off the table.
All right. Thank you.